Well, I just had something really weird happen. I had shot a bunch of my GTI project footage with my camera, and I'd set it up, the camera on the back of my other car in the garage here to film me as I was testing the pulse width modulated control of the blower motor in there. And then I jumped in the car and drove away with the camera sitting on the back of the hood of the car, and it's gone. Oh man. Anyway, so what I was showing is all my progress. I was gonna do before and after of the fan. It makes a bit of noise at low pulse widths. It pulses the fan, and you need a flyback diode. So I have a Schottky diode here, and then I'm trying an inductor in line after the solid state relay, and then a capacitor, so an LC low pass network. So I end up with smooth, very low RPM fan performance. I won't be able to turn the fan on very softly and slowly at the beginning and then go up to full speed. And the way it was fine up and down to about 30% speed, and then you start hearing that the vibration from the pulse width modulation. And that's because what's happening is you're pulsing the fan boom, boom, boom with these rapid pulses of current. And there's a couple things you need to do. One, you need to have a flyback diode that when you disconnect the power, the flyback diode allows the current to continue circulating in the motor. It actually improves the low RPM performance and it reduces the noise, but then you still have those pulses, and the way to get rid of the pulses is to round off the edges of the pulses effectively and try to get more of a direct current low voltage signal. Because the original blower was it had a resistor with multi-tap on it, and then you would end up with selecting different voltages based on what position switch for the blower motor. But that's very inefficient, and it heats up the resistor and it sucks a ton of power. So you're pulling 15 amps on the blower motor, and I should be able to get down to just 1 or 2 amps at low RPM here on this thing, and should be nice and quiet and infinitely adjustable. So I'm about to hook this up, my new circuit, and see how this thing sounds. So I've put that filter in, and I've played around a little bit. Actually, I like a higher frequency. Originally I was thinking very low frequency, and now that I've got that filter choke in there, the high frequency works really, really well. So I'll turn the blower on. So high, 50%, down to 20%, down to 10%. There's a little inverter or a pulse width wind from under the hood and where the engine, where that motor is, and so you may or may not hear that. I can change the frequency of that, and I just go in here and I'll just say 700 right now. So if I say 600, and then I sync to the computer, it changes that frequency. You can hear it changing up to 800. And sync again. So there's various, I'll have to come up with a frequency that I don't think is too annoying, but you can run the fan down to extremely low settings. So I'll show you the computer control of all the lights and stuff now. Before I put the actual stocks in around the steering wheel, which will be the inputs to the computer, I'll show you that. Okay, so 1 sec. Okay, I'm ready to show you computer control over the lights. So I've got the blower, that, turn that on. Then I've got the AC temperature currently controlling the signals. So first thing turns on is the crash bang boom parking brakes. So they're good. And then if you turn it up a little further, it should go left turn. So there's left turn signals, front and rear. Hold on. And then turn it up a little further. You'll see it'll switch to the right. So, and then if I hit the nitrous enable, I end up with the emergency flashers going all around on the car. So that'll also drive the flasher on the dash when I got that wired in. So that's all good. And then the next one is the headlights. So there's the first, those are the HIDs on low. They're both working, warming up. They're 40,000 volts. They take a little while before they get up to temperature, but they're awesome. And then if you turn it up further, it'll click on to the high setting. And all that does is it pushes the bulbs to a new focal point in the CH4 bulbs. So single housing, and so those are high beams. So those are all good. I'll turn those off. And then the next one is the horn, my air horns. So they work. Oh, they're loud. And then the last one is the vacuum. So no vacuum assist pedal is. Let me get my setup back here so you can see what's going on. Sorry. So pedals. There they go. Sorry, I'm using my phone because lost my camera. So stiff pedal. So I'll go to the first notch, and then I'll end up with. Oh, by the way, my brake lights do work, which is good. Get my. So that's the vacuum pump. So that's holding a minimal amount of assist, and then you take it up a notch, and then it's softer still, and then you take it up another notch, and it's very soft. So that's what's going on there. So all those controls work fine, and so I'm now going to put the stocks in. And just before I do that, I'm going to put the air conditioning wiring in place. So I'll finish terminating that, and then I'll put the stocks in and get the stocks to then control what I was doing there with the with my little ashtray panel. I'll change the programming so that the stocks control everything. And the way I run the ignition is so key on, I can turn off things or turn them on, and that's the fuel pump running when it first turns on. And then you also have to have this ignition switch on, and then there's a kill switch that allows me to run the starter motor without kicking the fuel and the spark. So I can prime the oil, for instance, and I can also kill the engine without killing the ignition, which is good. I can keep certain electrical systems running. So it's nice having both. You can start the car by turning the ignition key all the way, but then if you wanted to try starting it again, you'd have to go all the way off, because it ratchets, and then all the way back on. Whereas with this one, I can just push the start button whenever I feel like it to spin the starter motor. So a little more flexibility and control over things. So that's the way it's all set up. Well, I've ordered a new camera, a Panasonic Lumix LX100, which has got an awesome lens and all that. Big sensor, 4/3 sensor, so it should be nice, and a fixed lens camera. So I've got all the wiring done for the compressor. So it's mounted in there, and the wiring comes around. And I've used a large WeatherPack connector, 5-pin connector to do power and to both the control unit and to the compressor connection. And then there's a separate connector that runs signals to the computer and such. And so let me just show you how it works. So it's under air conditioning is under computer control now. So I will, first thing you do is if you hit the power to the compressor here, then it comes to life. And then it goes through a short boot sequence, and then I've got the compressor the speed setting here. So it'll turn on to its low setting first. You can hear it running there in the background. And then I'll turn it up. Next setting. And next setting. So those are the, I've got 4 settings to it. And so it's good, it works. And once I've got the, I've decided to go for O-ring connectors for everything, including the thermal expansion valve and stuff. So I'm waiting for those connectors and the new expansion valve to arrive, and then I'm going to put the whole system together and charge it up, because I've got the blower running now. So I'll be able to test the system out once the dash goes in shortly. So I'm just delaying the dash going in until I got the stock wiring done. It's just too hard to finish the wiring with the dash in. So I'll get everything going until the bitter end, then I'll put the dash in at the last second. I've been talking about putting the dash in forever, but it's just, I realized it's going to get in the way until I got all the wires dressed and put in their braided sleeves and, you know, all that crap. So anyway, here we go. Another thing down. So it turns out I'm going to use this after all in a very modified way. I'm going to put this as in series, the circuit with the original 3-position switch, in series with the solid state relay that is pulse width modulated. And the reason for that is I can leave the fan switch on high and then 100% control it with the computer, or I can set it to intermediate settings and then control it as well. And so what it does is it'll sort of the hybrid approach. You can have it fully computer control, or you can set it so you can adjust within each range. And I was doing some testing this morning, and you know, if I set the resistor on its, you know, going across the full resistor, then it on low, it you know, it's able to be controlled down to a very low fan speed with basically no noise at all. So it's really nice. And the normal low is actually reasonably high on this original OEM setup. So there. So that's what I'm going to do. It's nitpicking, but might as well get it right. And a couple more things. So I've ended up putting in a for the down at the bottom there's right above the voltmeter is a little circuit I built. I'll point to it with the light here. That circuit there, that is more LC, like a capacitor, inductor, and Schottky diode for each of the fans in the radiator, so that it has you know, smoother control. And I've also, up underneath and above, I've put a solid state relay in for controlling the brake servo so that it doesn't click. It was driving me crazy. I was realizing I'd be putting my foot on and off the brake, and I hear these little clicking sounds as the relays would kick in and out. So I'll just set the light down here, yeah, and show you. So I've got the fans just set up at 20% right now. So if I turn on the fans, I can run them lower than I used to. So those are the fans you're hearing for the engine radiator. And so very, very low speed. They're 15-20% capable now. And before, the minimum was 30 because they just make a bunch of noise and they didn't sound very good because I was spiking them too hard. So that's an improvement. And then if I go and I turn on the brakes, let's, do I have it? Okay, so there we are. So you can hear the vacuum pump running, but you're not clicking the relays anymore. So it'll basically run without all the clicking, and you won't hear the vacuum pump running when the engine's running. It's just when the garage is quiet. So anyway, just as I said, nitpicky stuff, but I'm getting to the point where I'm almost finished the wiring and I want it all just bang on. So I've got the fan controller set up so it's in the hybrid mode, and so I've got the original rheostat unit installed there, and a little circuit and a little weather pack connector. Sorry, my neighbors are building a house late into the evening. So what I'll do is I'll turn the fan on here. So it's on low. I'll turn it on high. So basically that's the original low setting. Then medium, high. And in each of these settings you can then take the lower motor potentiometer and adjust it. So you can get to wherever you want to be. So that's all good. Well, I got the wipers going now. So I got the stocks in, as you can see, and there's the new 99 timer from a later model car. And so, you know, first position, you can hear the motor running, and high speed, and then there's the timer. So I'll reset the speed on it. So to get it to go faster, just on, off, and it should be faster now. Yeah. And program it slower. On. Let's see if that worked. Yeah, there you go. So you can program it as long as, what, 10 seconds or longer. So yeah, it's working well. And I took apart the motor, greased it, cleaned it up, cleaned all the contacts and stuff, and now she's flying, and I'm happy to see it working away under the hood there. A lot of connections between the switch controller and all the rest of the stuff, and ended up having to drill a second hole through the firewall for more wires. My first wire conduit is absolutely full. So anyway, it's good that it's getting close. I just got a few more things in the stock here: the headlight switch and the turn signals, and then that stock's all done. And then I got a little bit more to do on fans and air conditioning wiring, very little, and then I'm done the wiring. More progress. So the wiring for the dash is finished. So what have we got here? We go to parking lights, so the parking lights are on, and then you go headlights, and then the headlights kick on, and then you pull the stock back to go to high beams. Now, one thing I can't quite figure out is I'll go all the way to, and it should stay on, but it pops back. Maybe that switch is fucked. I have the original. This is the aftermarket. So I'll see whether or not there's something going on with that. Turn signal. Oops, sorry, that's a wiper. What the fuck? Left turn signal and right turn signal. So those things all work. And yeah, the only problem, this collar, which goes inside here to stabilize the steering column, I've got the dimensions of this thing too large. I'm going to have to machine it down quite a bit. so that it will fit inside the gap, which is only 28.5 or 28.7 millimeters, and this is more like 32. So you have to machine this almost by at least 40% down, make the set screw smaller, and then it'll work. Just more fiddling, but this is, you know, one of a kind, so you're run into these problems. So that's good and done. I still have to wire up the door switches and the you know, the I guess it's the battery circuit. So it's not the ignition, it's the battery for the dome, interior lighting, glove box, that kind of stuff. So it's a separate circuit, and I'm waiting. I had these 0.110 fast-on connectors that you need. They're very thin fast-on spade connector, and I have a bag of them. Looked high and low for them, can't find them anywhere. There. As soon as I get the second set, I'm going to find the old ones. I know it. So I have to wait a week to get those things done. So I will go, and I can put the dash in now and do the temperature sensors and the fan wiring, and then I'm kind of done on all the wiring at that point. So all the major wiring's done. So this is making me happy.